Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Sunday Talk within the Nine-Sided Circle. I'm your host, Noor Kyle,
And I am her
and
faithful sidekick, Mushtaq Ali.
yay! So, thank you for joining us, whether you're here live or watching on the replay. We are very happy to have you here. And brief interlude with our spiel and whatnot.
Yeah, we're going to
Support
do
our
a micro
channel.
spiel
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah, yeah. Like, comment, subscribe, you know the deal.
Yeah, like,
We are
comment,
still doing
subscribe,
our
send us money. There
Send
you
us money. There you go. We're still doing our fund drive up until
go.
the 31st,
Yeah, the
basically.
31st
And
is the last day.
then I'm probably going to need at least a week to go through all of the donations to make sure that
Don't forget it.
I
Everybody.
tally everything up and figure out who gets those 3 free sessions, who wins the raffle. Let's find out. Give me a week or so. All right. Without further ado, we are getting into our topic this evening. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah, by the way. Don't want to forget about that. So our topic this evening, ooh, secrets once again. Eh, Mushtaq?
Yes, we have, in some ways, the ultimate secret of the work. The
Yes,
secret,
so
the secret of secrets. The secret that if you don't know this secret, you will never be able to finish the work. And if you do know this secret, you will be able to finish the work even if you're a complete dunderhead. So pay attention. We won't give you the final bit of the secret till the end of the video. I will tell you that now. And I do that just because I don't want people with short attention spans to know all of our secrets. You only get a secret if you have a long attention span. So, are we ready? Noor?
dive in, dive in.
Okay. We've talked about this before several times, but we're going to try and make it a little bit more succinct this time. So, and this is appropriate because we're coming up on New Year's. And you know what happens on New Year's besides wild parties, getting drunk and waking up with a bad hangover and way too many fireworks. What happens on New Year? You do New Year's resolutions. How long does the average New Year's resolution last? Any
Less
ideas?
than a month, I think.
Yes. The
Mhm.
last statistic I saw on it was approximately 3 weeks.
That's that's better than I thought.
Yeah, I was going
And
to
so
say
that's,
2 weeks.
Yeah. Well,
I
you
was gonna
you got
say
to
more
realize
like
that some
less than a
people
week.
make it a whole month and it averages out.
Yeah, well, good for those people. Let's give people their kudos while encouraging them to more. We can do better than that.
So, do you know why this is? Why is it that nobody hardly ever can affect real change in their lives, even if they make a New Year's resolution?
They don't think it through in detail.
Nope, that's not it.
I think
Okay.
they think it with their mind and their logic rather than, I don't know how to say it, rather than,
Kind of, sort of, but no.
okay. Sorry.
You,
Kind of, sort of, though.
yeah,
Getting
kind of,
there.
sort of.
Yeah.
Well, coming back to last week's talk, it's because the robot is more powerful.
This is absolutely
Mm.
true,
So there's that.
but
Well
that's
done,
not the
Ian.
answer that
And
we're looking for.
yes. Halil says, because, quote, man cannot do, unquote.
Yeah, you have to have the man in separate quotes for that to be entirely accurate, but that's also accurate. But why cannot man do? This is basically the same question. Why can man not do?
Because a man's not really a man.
Munib has the answer.
Mm.
No energy. In order to change, You have to bring your energy. Energy is defined as the ability to do work. You have to bring your energy up above a certain threshold. This is something that echoes through your entire being. Your synapses and your nerves are either firing or they're not. There's no intermediate state. It's on or off. And it takes a certain amount of impetus for the synapse to fire. Without that impetus, the synapse doesn't fire. And this can be either a good thing, a bad thing, or a neutral thing. Somebody who is really, really nervous, and you give them some GABA, which is a neurotransmitter, it causes the synapses to not fire so easily, and the person relaxes some. But if you want to change, you have to be able to have enough energy to make the change and to repattern yourself. Does this make sense? Take it as a metaphor, if nothing else. I don't want to go through the science of it too deeply tonight because we have other parts of it we need to look at.
I think everybody's following along well so far.
Okay, good.
And it's something you talked about before. I think there's a whole
Yeah,
video on
I've
it.
talked about this till I was blue in the face. And yet
This
I'm
is
doing it
a
again.
recurring topic simply because it is so critical. And we can find all different ways to talk about it so that people do get the memo just how important this is.
Yeah, and this directly relates to the last couple 3 weeks. Khalil has his hand up. Lay it on us.
So are you going to talk about the fact that the same person who makes the resolution is not the one who gives in to not doing it? That we're all different eyes?
We may touch on that a little bit, but that may be too complicated for tonight. This is baby steps. But I'm glad you brought that up because in order to maintain an eye, the real eye, in order to develop it and maintain it, again, you need more energy than you have. And again, I like the metaphor of the mind parasites. It's not real, it's not true, but it's a fun metaphor that there is something that exists only to gobble your energy, to feed off of your wild emotions. And it will make you do that so that it has a bigger meal. Again, this is not true, but it's a useful way of thinking about things, if that makes sense. So yes, when your energy is below the threshold of being able to do anything, you're going to pop up with all the different eyes, whatever fragmentary personality uh, that can get up there to run its programs, to run its tapes, will do that. And it'll just bounce around and you don't have enough energy to stop it, let alone to take a particular program, to take a particular we'll call it program tonight, just for the sense. And I mean that in the sense of a computer program, a set of instructions that is being played out.
Script.
Yes, a script is another good word.
That's one we used last week,
Yeah.
just for continuity
Continuity. So you need the energy. Now you need to understand that you have the, excuse me, the possibility of raising your energy. And it's not that hard. And everybody here will know the answers to, or most of the answers to this question already. How do you do it? How do you significantly raise the amount of energy you have for work? Don't everybody answer at once.
Throw them out there.
You interrupt the mechanical behavior so that the energy stops getting wasted and it becomes something that your essence can use.
This is absolutely true. And you need to do something to get enough energy to interrupt your mechanical behavior.
Okay. So yeah, we have some kind of technical answers coming in. So RM says balancing the centers.
Can we
Khalil
say
says
yes?
practicing divided attention.
Yes. James, what do you think?
Um, Healthy sleep, healthy diet, healthy physical routine,
Hell yeah.
because
Those
that'll
things.
drain you bad if you're not. And so a couple of those really physical stuff also, there's lots of general lifestyle stuff, like not being in massive conflict with yourself. Um,
Yeah, some of those, like that
also,
one, you need the energy before you can do that.
I think that that's a tricky bit though. Yeah, um,
Does
yeah.
your t-shirt say better luck next time?
Oh, yes.
I love it.
Better luck next life, actually.
Nice,
Sorry,
nice. I like
hope
that.
that's not too disappointing. But
Yeah,
certainly the basic physical stuff, if your body's severely impaired in terms of its energy level, its physiology, its metabolism, whatever, um, that's a really big stumbling block you're putting in your own way.
yeah. All right. The first practice. Let's get to Munib first. Munib, talk to me.
I was just thinking that this is kind of a chicken egg problem because you need energy to interrupt the mechanical behavior, and
It really kind of is, isn't it?
yeah, and I
Yep.
was just thinking, where does the extra energy to interrupt the mechanical behavior come from?
And what do we always tell you?
The breath, I think.
What is the one thing that you can
Yes.
do, even if you don't have a whole lot of energy?
Pay attention to the breath, I guess.
Yes,
Yep.
breathing
Yeah.
is very important. And the first step to gaining energy is control of breath practice. Because as your breath goes wild in different ways, your energy tends to bleed off. Everybody try this. I want you to do a particular breath practice. You're going to breathe only with your clavicle. So you're going to, just like this, use your shoulders, lift, drop. How does that make you feel? Don't do it for too long. As a matter of fact, stop doing it now, unless you're really enjoying yourself. But how does that make you feel?
Not a lot of breaths getting in there.
No.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
This week's and it feels really weird and inhibited. It's sort of like
Yeah.
body.
People who are stuck in only clavicular breathing are usually in a lot of trouble.
Hmm.
Makes me feel like just the edge of panicky.
Yeah.
Just the edge.
People
Yeah.
who are breathing like that are tending to start to go into a panic place. A couple of minutes of that, and you're going to need to put a bag over your face. which is an actual thing. If you have somebody who's going into a panic attack, get them to breathe into a paper bag. Raises the carbon dioxide levels, drops the oxygen levels, and it tends to slow them down. So this is one of the reasons that breath practice is the first thing we do, because it's the one thing, if you can't control anything else, you can control this at least a little bit. And it will allow you to do other things that are good for you. So I have my breath practice. I know that having a healthy diet is important to my overall energy. And yet I want that Big Mac. I find the craving for the Big Mac welling up in me. And if I sit and breathe into that craving, I can most oftentimes let the craving pass me by. It's like the litany against fear, only it's the litany against fast food. Once I can get my diet under a little bit of control, exercise. I recommend diet, then exercise, because you can't exercise yourself out of a bad diet. Exercise can be anything that allows your body to move. You don't have to be doing wind sprints. Matter of fact, for most people, you're better off if you don't. Do simple yoga. Do the 5 Tibetans. 5 Tibetans are great yoga, and they are ones that anybody can do who can move both their arms and their legs, because there are adaptations to each of the 5 postures that allow you to have a starting point. And some of our older students know how to do the 5 Tibetans and have been teaching them for a while. I'm looking at you, Zainab, wherever you are tonight. And if you can't do that, you can walk. If you can barely walk, you can walk across your house. Do that for a week, and you can maybe walk up and down the block. Do that for a month, and you can walk around the block. Most times. But at least you are moving. This will raise your physical energy. Later on, we can get into the strange spiritual gymnastics that the Sufi orders are known for, some of them, which are also designed to break up coagulation and open the body up to more energy. You can go and hang out with Cherie and get her to do what she does on you for a small price. And that counts as exercise. Did you know that what you do, Cherie, counts as exercise? You knew that.
Absolutely, I do. I was going to suggest too that when you have a choice of whether it's a diet thing or an exercise thing, making it really small and just doing that same thing over and over again gives you more energy to do the next thing. We tend to think in real big picture and think, I want to do a handstand. So you might be trying that out for the first 2 weeks and you can't even do a kick up. So you just stop. So it's like, first of all, just put hands on the floor, stand up. Hands on the floor, stand up. That's it. So that's how small. And when it comes to going through daily life, and I was observing this having spent a week with 5 octogenarians, and they make bad choices all the time. 8:30 comes around, 9 o'clock, I'm getting tired. And I would say my good nights and I would go to bed, and they go, oh, you go to bed too early and you get up too early. And I go,
No, my body is telling me. So when we're using our breath, we're also using our senses. Is the decision you're going to make going to serve the resolution I made? So your resolution to have a better, healthy lifestyle is going to bed at midnight after you watched the James Bond medley every night. They had a James Bond thing. They had to watch the James Bond movie. But they'd get up at midnight and be staggering around. And one of my uncles did fall over because he's so tired. And you think, how did that serve you? That didn't serve you to stay up watching a movie you have seen many times before. It is enjoyable, but it's at the wrong time. So it's about knowing that you could have access to the movie that you want to watch, but at a daytime instead of doing it at 9 o'clock at night when you should be in bed. So I found it really interesting to work with myself or with clients to say, you choose between one or the other. And if you ask yourself that question, is this going to serve me tomorrow? Is this going to serve me in the next week? Is it going to serve me in the next month? Because we're very good at talking ourselves out of doing what we need to do. But if you just make it just a little small question, is this going to serve me tomorrow? No, I'm going to wake up feeling trashed. So go to bed. Just go to bed. And you'll feel so much better. And once you've done it once, you can do it a second time and a third time and a fourth time. But that first one is the hard one. And once you've just got that little bit of neural connection that say, okay, I've done this. I knew how good it felt. I'll do it again and do it again. And then all of a sudden it becomes your normal practice to go to bed 9 o'clock, no problem. But before you started that, when you're saying, oh, I've got to watch the 10:30 news before I can go to sleep and blah, blah, blah. And the next thing you know, it's midnight. And you think, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And then you do it again the next night and the next night, because that's actually what you're training. So if you want to change your training, you've got to ask yourself a question. Does this serve me, et cetera, et cetera? Try that.
There you go. Yep. Kevin says, Cherie speaks truth.
Well, I have to say that I'm a night owl and I can't go to bed before 1 a.m.
And you don't have to. What you do have to do is get enough sleep.
Yeah, I do pretty well on that most of the time.
Yeah. So there is no moral essence to going to bed early or to going to bed late. Your body wants a certain amount of good, solid sleep, which includes deep sleep, REM state sleep, light sleep. Wants to go through all those cycles. And if it gets that, you're great. You're golden.
And those cycles are usually 90 minutes. So that's the other thing too. I've noticed that if I'm under a bit of stress, I'll wake up every 90 minutes. I look at the clock and there's a cycle. I've just done a cycle. All right, go back and do another cycle. And that's how I just like, don't give yourself a hard time about it. My husband is crazy hours. He'll fall asleep at 6 p.m., wake up at 10 p.m., eat something, go back to sleep again, wake up at 2 a.m., just all different times all the time. So I just stopped nagging him to say, you have to go to bed at 10 o'clock and wake up at 6 o'clock. He just sleeps when he's tired. So that's it. I don't give him a hard time about it. He'll eat his dinner when he's ready, and sometimes he'll eat it with me. Yay. And other times he doesn't, and I don't give him a hard time about it. I realize I created that suffering that he had to eat with me. No, he doesn't. He's tired and he wants to do something else. That's okay. So everybody's different, and I see him functioning every day very well. And yet he has the weirdest sleep pattern, but that's him. But he's also appreciated that I've said, you just listen to your body. If you have to go to sleep, we go early from a dinner party or something. If you have to go, it's okay. It's okay. I won't give you a hard time about it. I won't force him to be social when he's not capable of doing something like that. And sometimes we're a bit hard on ourselves like that. So yeah, Mushtak's right. As long as you get as much good quality sleep as you can, it just might happen at weird times, best before midnight. But if that's not your pattern, then you have a different body clock to anybody else. But if you're functioning well, then that's not a problem.
Functioning well. The key is don't be fooling yourself. Be attentive.
Yep.
All right.
So the next thing,
Do
we have something else?
I was just looking in the chat. Alka says, for me, it's not how much sleep, but if my body is relaxed and rested. Could come from sleep, could come from breath. Breathing right, being aware, being conscious when I am carrying emotions. Will that be acceptable? You get to listen to your body and see if it's telling you that it's acceptable. Yeah.
And RM is actually jumping ahead. She's asking about yoga nidra, which is a great thing. And she mentions also meditation helps with quality of sleep. Even more than that, meditation helps with quality of energy. That's actually the next thing on our list.
Well, what kind of
meditation practice.
What kind of meditation practice? There are
The kind that
many
we
out
teach you
there.
is the only good one. The kind of meditation that allows you to focus in the present. I recommend the last four spokes of the Ashtanga in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, which are withdrawal of the senses, concentration of awareness, enfolding your awareness on the object of meditation, and then flow state.
So we often have that object of meditation be one's breath.
Yeah, and we're probably going to do a talk on each of these points. But a meditation practice, and this can be a number of different ways, but a meditation practice will raise your energy. And anything that gives you more energy gives you more ability to do your work. Now I'm going to mention one more thing, which is community. Working in community will raise your energy. Oh, yes. And Khalil asked, what about hydration? And the answer is that goes in with nutrition.
Indispensable to be well hydrated. That is true.
Dangerous to be overhydrated or underhydrated.
Well hydrated.
Properly hydrated.
In a balanced way. Yes.
Yeah, you know, when people started competing in long distance running, there is this phenomena that began happening. It had never happened before, which was a collapse due to overhydration. Because there would be all of these stands along the way with all of the Gatorades and these signs, hydrate, drink more water, drink more water. But it doesn't quite work that way. It is drink enough water and know the difference between not enough, just right, and too much. And keep yourself in the just right area.
I learned I needed more electrolytes, so I add those when I drink, and that helps me retain more of the water, and then I don't have to just drink so damn much. It actually stays in my system. All right, so let's return to this idea of working in community.
Okay.
Because RM is asking if we couldn't further explain that.
When you work in community, you create a circuit amongst the people in the community. Okay, Okay, I tend to think of this in electrical terms. Ian, help me out here. I am thinking of a series of circuits where you're passing the electricity around and around them. Do you know what I'm talking about? Or Munib, you may know this as well.
I mean, but there should be some place from where the energy is increasing, right? Something should,
Yeah.
I mean, there should
Well,
be a
it's
source
like
of
if you
energy.
create a generator. A generator is magnets moving circularly around a coiled wire that is making the energy move, but that's not exactly what we're looking for. It's more like this. He said, struggling for the right metaphor. I need to pick up this boulder. I tried to do it by myself. Doesn't happen. Somebody comes up and they try and help me. Still doesn't happen. A third person comes up. A fourth person comes up. 10 people are around the boulder, and all of a sudden it lifts very easily. It's like that. Again, it's just a metaphor. People
Force
working
multiplier.
together tend to be synergistic. Teamwork,
Yeah,
yes.
that's the idea.
Yeah, and what we find in synergistic setups is that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, which is weird and seems at first to defy Newton's laws of energy, and yet it doesn't. Because it's not that it's creating energy out of anywhere, it's more that it uses it more efficiency. And you see this in the tensegrity structures of Bucky Fuller.
Yeah, I realized my mic had been off when I was speaking before. I had a couple of examples. One was stringing GPUs together um, to dramatic by the tens of thousands, which is what it's taken to produce AI. But then at a much more simple level, just the ancient approach of the lever.
Yes. Yeah. And one person with a lever and fulcrum can move a great mass. 10 people on the same lever can move an even greater mass. It's weird. Obviously, I need to work on how I explain this part. And yet I know that it is really, really useful to work in community.
Munib says leverage is a great metaphor.
Yay.
Maybe entrainment.
Entrainment is also a good metaphor for this. Kevin, what do you think?
Well, I go to a dance class every week, and some weeks I have to drag myself out of my cave just to end up in class. And when I'm just feeling really low energy and depleted, in about 10 minutes, just being in that room full of people in dance, I get a surge of energy that carries me through the rest of the day. And yeah, and that's how I'm thinking. I mean, in fact, I came back from dance tonight, so that's how I'm thinking about how
That's a
that works.
perfect example. That's an absolutely perfect example. So, can I ask what kind of dance it is?
It's just an ecstatic dance community, so it's like
A little
free
contact
movement.
improv kind of stuff?
Yeah,
Okay, so there's a
yeah,
couple
there's
of
some
things about that
contacting.
kind of dance which go to the heart of this. It's cooperative and it is uh, flow inducing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's rules, but there's enabling constraints. So there's a lot of free flow within those constraints and within those rules. Um, and so it really hones in on that flow state.
Yeah. And that is pretty much guaranteed to increase your energy. And that's a great example of community.
I liked that term you used too, just as an aside, enabling constraints. It's almost like there's a structure that's built that allows everyone to build out from there, all this cool stuff together.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was going to also something else went through my mind, which was that towards the end of my corporate career, I started to get pretty good at mediating groups. And part of the thing that really works when you get a well, when you get a group that's working together well, is that ideas from different people really have create a synergy
Yeah.
that gives you something better than you can produce on your own, which was quite a realization for me because I spent a great deal of my corporate career working on my own. So it was quite a revelation to find that good teams actually worked well.
Yeah, exactly right. And at the risk of sounding immodest, this is why so many of us find this format enjoyable. We are not listening to Noor or myself front load you information. These talks are a conversation. That's what sohbet means. It means a conversation. It means the group does what we do here. We share ideas, and each of us helps make it better. Noor and I could not make this as good as it is by ourselves. It takes everybody here to do it.
It'd be
Yeah,
boring for us. We get something out of it from being here in in a group as well.
yeah, I've been noticing over the just over a year that I've been attending the live talks, they've managed to get more interactive and cooperative and in a sense more fun because
Yeah.
of
Yay.
And we want all of that. We want this to be fun for you all. We want it to be cooperative. We want it to be interactive. And we want each one of you to give to the group from your knowledge because everybody knows something. Ain't no stupid people managed to get here. So everybody knows something. Everybody has something to offer. Everybody's offering is valid, sometimes essential.
Yep. So RM, I mean, just as you were saying that, Mushtaq, RM was also saying in the chat that sitting with you all has helped in producing energy. So
Yes.
that seems to be a sentiment that many of us share.
Kevin.
Yes, Kevin.
Um, this just reminds me of the biblical. This might be too left field, but when they say, "When two or more are gathered in my name," there's
Yeah, that's
something
not out
at
of left
that point
field.
that
That's
happens.
exactly right.
Not out of left field at all.
Yeah. It's funny you
Directly
should mention
relevant.
that. Yeah. In our secret group, our private group, the one that is really, really, really hard to get into. We had our Christmas talk, and it was all about the teachings of Yeshua ben Maryam. of which that is considered part of. And it's exactly right. When two or three people are gathered together in order to facilitate the work, it becomes stronger. And we know that places that have strong community, the people who live there are healthier and live longer as a rule.
Em says, thinking the same thing, Kevin. You beat me to it. She adds, there is a hadith, tradition that says, when two come together, the third is Allah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's right. So the upshot of this, and now that all of the people with short attention spans have already turned this off, I can tell you, think of yourself. Yes, RM is exactly right. The blue zones, when you look at all of the blue zones, one of the things that you see over and over again is community. Blue zones are the places where people live a really long time, like Okinawa or some places in Turkey. And yeah, and it's all about community. Places on Crete where everybody has known everybody their entire life and they're all kind of friendly to each other. Even if they hate each other, it's a friendly hate. So
All right. So,
I want you to, and again, this is a metaphor. I remember when Gurdjieff was first talking about this, he was talking about this in terms of accumulators. Y'all know what accumulators are? They don't really have that in science
Yeah,
anymore.
the idea that a person could be an actual accumulator.
No,
Was
the
that
idea,
Gurdjieff's thing?
what is an accumulator?
Something
Probably only Ian is going to know this one.
something that could store energy.
Yes. And this is an idea that predates batteries. And the Leyden jar is an example of this, of an early accumulator. So you have these kind of jars with two poles, and they pick up static, and it stores the static in the jar until it's released. Gurdjieff used to talk about the great accumulator and the small accumulator. We don't talk about it in those terms anymore because we have better metaphors. We're thinking of lithium ion batteries now. Think of some part of yourself as a battery. And that part of yourself has been operating at 1/10 capacity for your entire life. And it is possible to raise the charge on that battery. Now, what happens when you have more battery charge? My phone, if my charge gets too low, immediately switches to what it calls power saving mode. It goes to black and white. The screen drops way down. Various functions don't work. But the moment I plug it in and charge it up, they all come back. This is true until running off of low charge for so long you damage the battery and it can never hold a full charge again. Think about that. If you damage your battery, it will not be able to hold a full charge. So you are invited to charge your battery. The first charger you can attach to your battery is your breath. And if you think about it, if you can imagine that you have this accumulator, say in your belly, say just below your navel, about sitting in the middle of your sacrum, and you allow your breath to begin to shunt energy into that place until the energy gets stronger and stronger and stronger. You're doing qigong, right? You're packing qi, as they say. But you don't have to do that. Just imagine that your breath is charging your battery. When you do that, it kind of becomes meditation. When you eat, look at your food and ask yourself, does this food give me low quality energy, medium quality energy, or high quality energy? Because that's the thing too. Sitting next to my computer is a big old honking box uh, called an APC. You see? UPS. One of those, a UPS, an uninterruptible power supply. The reason that it sits there is because the current in this house fluctuates greatly. And if you plug really delicate electronics directly into the walls here, it can kill them.
We've had it happen.
We've had it happen. And when I figured out what was going on, I bought a UPS the same day because I couldn't afford to have my computer destroyed by crappy power. So remember, bad power, fluctuating power, damages the system. So it behooves you to get the best charge possible off of your food. And I guarantee you that if you start asking yourself this question every day, what kind of power does this food give me? Is it the power that I want to run my system? It will change your diet as long as you have enough energy to ask the question. Then imagine yourself as a dynamo. You know what a dynamo is? I'm using all of these archaic.
Tell us, youngins.
Ian, what's a
Tell
dynamo?
us, youngins.
I feel I ought to know, but it's not coming into my brain right now.
Okay, it is a device that generates electricity.
Yeah, yeah.
It does it through motion. When you go to a large dam that creates electrical power from falling water, what you have is water that turns a wheel that spins magnets through a field to create electrical current. Your body is a dynamo. If it is not moving, it is not creating charge. And here's the thing. Every dam, Hoover Dam, right, creates electricity enough to power Los Angeles. It loses some of its energy in the water falling over the turbine blades because it has to. You know, the law of conservation of energy is universal. It works. We can't get around it. But it creates so much more energy that it doesn't matter if it loses some. So when you walk, of course you burn energy. And if you are walking consciously, you gain more energy than you're burning. It's a matter of efficiency. And you're turning, and in Hoover Dam, you're turning mechanical energy into electrical energy. And there's all sorts of stuff around that. And I'm not a physicist, though I live with one. We can get Palin on here. She could explain all of this stuff to us. Um, but right exercise will increase your energy, and it's increased through movement. The movement can be as simple as walking or as complex as highly sophisticated dance or martial arts. And it's up to you what your body needs. And the last is community. When you have a bunch of people working in parallel, you create great power. Just as if you hook a bunch of, as Ian was saying, GPUs, you hook them up in series or in parallel, and they work. I think you get better mileage off of parallel, if I remember correctly. Parallel processing. Yeah.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. I was thinking of circuits. Um, but yeah, I mean, I was. It's like if you get one GPU, you can have one GPU in a PC, and it really doesn't do a whole lot. I mean, it's great for making better graphics,
It's good for
but
games.
if you're going to train a large language model in AI, you need literally tens of thousands of these things, um, all going at it.
Many hands, light work, I
Yep.
guess.
That's a good way to think about it. These things will give you enough energy that when through your own self-observation, you find patterns that you realize need to be altered, you will have the energy to alter them. And that's the final secret of this. You will be able to change the patterns that you've been carrying around for a lifetime. But without that extra energy, when you are bleeding off all of your energy into the pattern, you can't change. Think about all of the people you know who have tried to quit smoking and failed over and over and over again. Oh, yes. RM points out something important. And this is also goes to energy. She mentions, while listening to this, something came to mind. Gratitude practice increases energy. Yes, absolutely.
That is a good reminder because that works on, we're talking a lot about the physiological, but that gets into something that plugs into a similar place that breath does, where it allows us to work on multiple levels. I mean, all of these are connected, as we know the body and the mind and what we might call the spirit are not separated from one another. But gratitude allows us to turn up the volume on what we might think of as the welcome and the positive and the satisfying. And remembering that those exist in our lives can increase our energy. Whereas spending a lot of time kind of stuck in thinking about what is missing, what's gone wrong, what's unsatisfying. Sometimes that's a big way that we fritter away the energy that we have. So gratitude practice in and of itself, I think of that as one way to plug the leaks, as I like to say, when it comes to how we can preserve and kick up our energy. Yes, as Manib says, gratitude is anabolic. Shame, we can think about that as some kind of counter to gratitude, is catabolic.
Yeah, and that works.
You've
So,
also reminded me of that speech that if we're constantly, and this is from Mushtar, if you're constantly whinging, a whinger, which is an Australian term that we like to use for someone who's a chronic complainer, whinger. We can't have that, can we, James? So I met someone who was a chronic whinger just the other day, and I just felt my energy just drain out to her. And I'm thinking, oh, this is so awful. I just wanted to get away from her. And I just thought, how can I actually be supportive to this person? So I tried my best, but it's made me think about that the people we keep company, even for ourselves. I was thinking of it as a mirror to myself too. You know, when am I a champion whinger? So when do I need to bring my presence back into that and say, what am I saying? What am I actually generating? Or am I depleting not only my company, but myself, by just constantly going into complaining versus being in gratitude and seeing something that we can be grateful for? That's the other side of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked how you turned that into a mirror for your own behavior as opposed to just like, toxic people I need to get away from. Because, I mean, we get lost in that. We use that as an excuse to avoid looking at ourselves and seeing, okay, where do I contribute to this same phenomenon for myself and for others? And where is that perhaps within how can I look at this in such a way that it is empowering for me to do something different? Thanks for that, Sheree. Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. RM says on my Enneagram diagram on level 5, I'm thinking of this in terms of the Enneagram of process, right? On my Enneagram diagram of process at point 5, let's say, RM says I have to use gratitude to keep going. That's when I noticed it's very important in any process, whether small or big, to finish the cycle. And end quote. That's an important point because we think of point 5-ish as being sort of what people might call the dark night of the soul, when people feel exhausted, depleted, they're maybe judging themselves very harshly for where they feel they've fallen short of their goal just before they're about to move forward towards the finish line. It's that part where you need to stick through it and hang in there and allow yourself to feel what you feel till you start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And that's when gratitude can help you see that light at the end of the tunnel and to bear witness to how far you've already come and what you've managed to achieve all along the way. Em.
Hi. I think it's already implied, and we do it very subtly, but I believe that in order to get the breath to the attention that we want, the breath bringing us into that energy, the movement, the community, eating good food, sleeping well, the attitude of gratitude, all of this, I believe, and I'm experiencing in my own life, that only starts to generate energy. There's two levels of it. When it's subtle, where my intention is subtle, yes, there's energy there. But if I make a conscious intention, that intention, attention, presence thing, when I bring that into the fold, then the breath kicks me into a boost. Then the movement comes in and the movement becomes, instead of getting me tired, actually boosts me up and energizes me. Even the subtle movements of the daily prayer or my morning yoga movements, when I put the intention there, that shifts it to another level. The food in the same way, the sleep in the same way. Even if I only sleep for maybe 5-10 minutes, if I've made the right intention, I seem to come out of it restfully. So maybe we're now in a time where the intention can no longer be subtle or already implied, but actually a conscious, and maybe we need energy to do that as well, I don't know, but consciously intending, making the intention, and then giving that attention, and the presence comes along. And then all of these things, which seemingly is common sense, but yeah, we take it for granted. Maybe that's why we don't benefit from it as much as that we should be benefiting from it. Yeah, I just wanted to bring attention to the intention that has to be the base for all of this, for it to then give back to us in the way that we're desiring. I could be wrong.
I don't think you are. I think that there is something that can get the ball rolling, as it were. You know, unless I think you can stumble into things, but I think in order to make concerted movement forward when it comes to something like gaining energy, start small with the tiniest intention. I think of it as finding a crack in the wall, the tiniest crack in the wall that you can utilize as a way to get in, to move around, to knock down whatever is in your way. But without having a sense of intention, perhaps to first find that crack in the wall.
Maybe what I'm trying to say is we're already doing all of this. We're
Yeah.
already moving. We're already moving about in our day. We have to have, whether it's family or community, we're interacting with people. We're eating for sure. We're sleeping for sure. But we're doing it mechanically. And I think where the shift is, or it's to do these things not from the mechanical self, but the conscious self. And so the intention then becomes like a key to activate that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've already got breath, but it becomes activated when I'm intentionally bringing my attention to the.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to say. Like, we're already eating and drinking, but when we bring our intention to it, it activates the food to work differently in the body. It activates the sleep to serve in a different level of rest. And I often forget the intention because I have this idea that my holistic intention is that, and I've made that, I have a universal intention already, but it needs to be tapped into, like, just to get, because then that becomes mechanic too. The nafs is such a shapeshifter that it can really hijack every good thing you do and turn it back into the machine's food rather than the soul. So yeah, it's something I've been experimenting on.
Thank you for clarifying, because I think that is such a it really points to how we can have all of the, the meaningful stuff that we're doing kind of spun on its head and used to keep us exactly where we've been, where we're at. So, yeah, getting more intentional and granular about our intentions is a thing unto itself. So, thank you for speaking to that, Em. Much appreciated. Kevin.
Well, I just want to call back to this piece about intentions because it seems like such an important thing when we're setting, say, a resolution
Mm-hmm.
or moving towards something. And as for myself, all the new age types talk about their affirmations, but I like to set my intentions whenever I enter into a situation. And that helps to narrow my focus and eliminate a lot of the distracting elements that will tend to pull me in other directions. So before I start my movement practice every day, which is just a walk in the woods, I set my intention to be aware of my body as I'm moving through the space. I usually start with a body scan, and that's been very helpful for me, and has been for me the way I plug a lot of those leaks that drain a lot of the energy. So just to dial it back into, how we can set our intentions in ways that can be generative, eliminate distractions, eliminate the drainage, keep the battery running, and do it almost relentlessly if that's what it takes. So, yeah, I just really appreciated that piece.
I like that. I like the renewal, like the refreshing and renewing our intentions as we go so that they don't get lost in the noise. And walking in the woods, that's a great way to bring movement into daily life. Excellent.
I highly
I'm
recommend it.
thinking,
Yeah. Yes. Was someone else chiming in?
yeah, I was thinking about how there's something that looks like intention, but it's going wrong. It's grandiosity,
Hmm.
like trying to have too large and vague an intention, maybe that takes you away from actually paying attention to what you're doing.
Yeah, the persona will do anything to
Mhm.
stay in charge. And we have to remember that. And that includes screwing up our intentions. This is where you get spiritual bypassing. And it often comes across like grandiosity. That's a really good term for it. But you will find that this is low energy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm thinking about a thing which may not be spiritual bypassing. It might be a different way of going wrong. Like wanting to make my qigong a whole lot better instead of focusing on what's actually happening.
Okay. I'm not quite putting that together in my head, but it sounds like it makes sense.
Okay, it's like um well, you talk about illusion. It's like having a fantasy of drastic improvement without
Oh,
actual
yes.
knowledge.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's why I say spiritual bypassing, because that's a part of that. But
Mhm.
yeah, what you're talking about is a bit more specific.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think that's why I always, at least for myself, I think of, well, we also, I mean, this gets into other things like, we have our aims that we may never reach in life. We have our goals that are sort of things that are reasonably going to lead us as far as we can go when it comes to achieving our aim. And we can achieve goals. Those are like midterm things. Then we have the intentions that kind of start us on the road down those paths. And I was talking earlier about starting small because that keeps us, whatever fantasy we may have about the overarching scheme of things, setting goals daily that are actually attainable and reachable, that don't sell us short, but that push us just hard enough so that we can satisfy that desire to achieve something while also not getting lost in the fantasy of the thing.
Yeah. The fantasy work, and that's Robert DeRopp coined that term, is one of the greatest of all energy sinks. So when you think that you're in the work, but you're not actually doing the work, you are bleeding off a lot of energy. And he wrote a great book on it called Self-Completion. Highly recommended.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Also, Marianne Kaplan wrote a book called Halfway Up the Mountain, which I think is still available, which is a brilliant discussion of these very problems.
And another one of hers that came out more recently is in the same vein. But yes,
Yeah.
So tempted
either
to show and
both.
tell.
What's that?
I'm so tempted to do a show and tell right now.
James has it in his collection, I'm sure. There you go. Yes.
Yeah, I like her work a lot. She's a smart lady, and she had a very good teacher. That's actually how I knew her. Her teacher and my teacher were like really good friends, and every time one of them came to the other one's area, they would come over and visit and hang out and cause trouble, and it was great fun.
Cool. All right. So RM asks, is there any way we can objectively measure these things? Objectively measure what exactly, RM? Just so I'm not just shooting my mouth off about stuff you weren't even asking about. Was this about energy, intention, progress, whatever that means?
And we have a unsatisfactory answer to some of those questions. There is no
Oh, okay.
okay, there is no way for you to objectively measure that at this point. This is the value of a teacher. The main purpose of having a teacher is for them to tell you when you're full of shit. More than anything else. And part of where they tell you where you're full of shit is when you think you are progressing, when you're not progressing quite as much, or when you are stuck in fantasy. And yes, it's painful, but it's necessary. You can figure it out eventually on your own. It's okay if you go that way. Just it's going to be harder. And
No, you cannot figure this out on your own. I forever grateful to have a teacher like you. So no, you need a teacher.
it looks like you have the right spelling, Khalil. Uh,
I'll do a little Google
Kaplan,
search.
yeah, with a
You
C.
focus on the. There you go. Oh, great.
Yeah,
Okay. Marianne Kaplan with a C.
yeah, yeah. She was a direct student of Lee Lozowick's for many years, and he was the real deal. Crazy as a football bat, but really interesting cat.
So, as Mushtaq said, I mean, Alka, perhaps that's true for you, that you need a teacher. I think that many of us do. I think that some people can do this on their own, but it is so easy to fool ourselves.
Yeah, the rabbit hole you get into, and oh my God. And you truly believe that you have understood it, and it feels high. Even just feeling high on this path, what we're talking about, feeling that high energy can be a rabbit hole,
Mhm.
right? You have to balance that too. So,
Yes, that is such a good point. And what was I gonna say? The feeling of ecstasy, this feeling of what some people might think of as an energetic high, a feeling of being invincible, of, chasing after your dreams in a way that is full on and all encompassing. All of these things are not necessarily what we're talking about in terms of having charged your battery and gotten yourself heading in the right direction. Those things can be manifestations of the fantasy work. And so we have to be very conscientious about the stories we tell ourselves about our experience.
exactly.
All right, folks. I think that we've said as much as we can say about this for one evening.
Yes.
So let's go on to Brady Bunch mode.
Yeah. Before we close, does anybody who has not had the opportunity to share yet want to seize the opportunity to share any questions or thoughts before we wrap up? All right. Yeah,
Excellent.
Brady Bunch mode.
We're in Brady Bunch mode.
Yay. Okay, everyone. Take a chomp out of everything we've talked about this evening and see where it takes you. Leave some comments, leave some questions, and give it some thought about how this might be applicable to you in this new year coming up. If you're the type of person who sets intentions or does any kind of resolutions type stuff, we hope this will be a timely talk for you. But it doesn't have to be huge if you do decide to set some intentions or resolutions. Feel free to start small and to set yourself up for success. That's what I would encourage you to do. All right. We can wave to each other. Wave to
Bye,
everybody
folks.
watching on the replay. Happy New Year. Bye.
See you next year.